Ms. Steph, did you know that you can teach children engineering with just a few simple items like spaghetti and marshmallows? Well, guess what? Here we go. Welcome to Live with Ms. Steph. This is April 7th, 2025. Welcome to Q2 for folks who follow the Gregorian calendar as their physical calendar. For those of you who follow kind of the other fiscal calendar, this is your Q4, and life, I'm sure, is getting quite busy for you. But that being said, hi, I'm Ms. Steph, Stephanie E. Farmer, founder and executive director of Triple F Empowerment, Inc. We mitigate the very negative outcome that occurs. Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for watching Live with Ms. Steph. That occurs when young people do not have adequate or some of them, STEAM education at school. So we come alongside families, schools, after-school directors, various educators to provide camp, community classes, and consulting to mitigate those issues that arise when they don't have enough science education. Long story short, we make science fun, okay? So, like I said, I'm going to show you an activity that legit involves 3 materials. And you can grab them from store. It's very easy to get a hold of, and you're going to be able to really teach all 5 letters of STEAM, but specifically be able to focus on some math concepts and some engineering basics. And before we get into that, we'll get into our weekly Science Club news. So as I said, today's April 7th, 2025. Welcome to spring, folks. Here in New York City, it's cloudy, but that doesn't mean that it's not spring. So that's a mindset moment for somebody. But yes, just because it's cloudy doesn't mean spring activities are not happening. I'm looking right outside of my window here in my NYC apartment, which also, as some of you who've been following me know, doubles as my office, and I'm seeing the leaves start to poke out of the branches. That's a whole entire process that we won't go into today, but spring activities are absolutely happening and can happen and will happen amidst the clouds, okay? So super excited to remind you that this coming Saturday, getting into our Saturday news, our Science Club news, as it were. This coming Saturday, April 12th, from 12 to 2 p.m., we will have our Saturday Science Club. Yes, that is at Wadley. Yes, drop-off is available. Yes, you do have to fill out the beacon form to be able to drop your child off. But once you do that, you can drop your kid off, and we have a great time. It's 2 hours of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, fun and exploration. So what does that 2 hours mean? Why does that 2 hours matter? That's 120 minutes in comparison to your average young person's 40 minutes of hands-on science education that they're getting at school. So that's the average. So a chunk of kids, if you know how averages work, shout out to our math folks, a chunk of children are getting less than 40 minutes a week in comparison to their what may be no less than 120 minutes of ELA a day, okay? And so a lot of the school day is comprised of math and reading, but our young people are not getting experiences with science. So that being said, Saturday Science Club is a great way to, one, introduce your children into the Ms. Steph Science Club community. Come on down. We're welcoming you. And it's also a great way to replace and fill in the gap of the hands-on science education that they're just simply not getting. Unless your child's school has a whole science theme. And even some of the schools, and this is no shade, this is just reality. Period. Okay? Even some of the schools that call themselves a STEM school might not have a STEM instructor right now for various reasons. They may not be doing STEM on a regular basis. That is happening. Okay? So you want to make sure, getting into our tips, because y'all know I always like to give you tips. You want to make sure that you're checking in with your young person's school and saying, hey, so how many minutes You don't even have to ask hours. You don't even need to ask, like, what curriculum you guys are using. You don't care about that. What you care about is how much time in science instruction are they getting? And then the follow-up question to that is how much of that is hands-on, meaning laboratory exploration, meaning they're mixing some chemicals together and finding out what happens, meaning they're having to fill out laboratory reports. How much time a week are they getting? How many minutes a week are they getting? Again, I told you that number. It's an average roundabout of 40 minutes or less a week for most children in the U.S. The statistic I'm giving you is a statistic from 2016. And yes, it's still a real thing. It's 2025 and these kids are still out here getting less than 40 minutes of science education. And I know I keep saying it over and over again because it's a fact and it's something that we can adjust. You can adjust that by tuning into my YouTube channel. You can adjust that by tuning into a bunch of other people. There are several other creators here, YouTube creators, Instagram influencers, other educators that are out here contributing to the improvement of what your young person can get. And that's just this way. And then, like I said, we offer various in-person things. And so, like, the reminder, April 12th, is one of the in-person activities that you Harlem families can take advantage of. And no, there's not a fee for that particular service. Come on down. Then we have traveling science teacher. We have Summer Science Club. Summer Science Club is filling up, people. Summer Science Club is going to be running. This is another piece of your news. So if you're trying to track me, and it may seem like I'm going all over the place, I'm not. I talked about Saturday program. I talked about the function, and I gave you some tips as far as how to interact with your young person's school to find out how many minutes they're getting in comparison to what Saturday program provides, as well as what the average city public school provides. And then I framed that for you and said, okay, this is what this means. And this is in comparison to how many minutes of like reading, writing, and math basics they're getting. And then if you're looking at trying to make sure that your young person is getting science and getting the benefits of participating in a science program, this is what you can do. Okay? So that's what all that was, our first like 10 minutes, right? Now coming into Summer Science Club news. Summer Science Club registration is open. We have open registration happening ages 5 to 10. So that's a rising kindergartner up to a rising 5th grader. And that's hands-on STEAM. So what are you getting with that? For a $700 value, you're going to be paying $425 because our donors and grants and all that make up the other portion. And thank you to those of you who watch me and are a part of that. This is what we're making sure that young people are getting in that time period. So it's a 5-week program where we go through the letters of STEAM. Each week has one of the STEAM, right? One of those letters as the theme for the week. And children are getting 2 specific targeted times. The morning time is a direct instruction time where we sit down and I say, this is what we're doing, and here's your lab report, and complete that, so on and so forth. And that's about a 90-minute block. Yes, 90 minutes. And yes, I can get a 5-year-old to engage, not sit down, because that's not my concern, okay? Engage in a 90-minute direct instruction block. We break it up. We have a great time. We move around the room. We make a mess, and then we clean it up, okay? And then we go and we play outside. And in the afternoon, they come back, have a relaxed just moment. They can color. They can read. They can close their eyes for a moment. Because yes, did you know that elementary school children do need a nap? Yeah, they do, okay? And so we have a relaxed time. We don't do an official nap, but we have a relaxed time. And then coming into the afternoon, we have an hour of science play. So that's their second science block. in the same day. Am I yelling at you? Yes, because y'all need to know about these things. You need to think about, this is what you can ask. If you're not here in New York City, or you just simply know that like you're not going to be able to link up with us and have your child come to Ms. Steph Science Club for the summer, fine. Find out though. Ask your people coming into tip 2. Okay? Coming into tip 2 for the week. Ask your STEM or your STEAM themed camp. How many minutes are they getting? How many blocks of time are they getting of hands-on time? Because it's summer. How many minutes are they getting, and or how many like instructional blocks? Hi. Thank you for watching Live with Ms. Steph. Came on a little early today because I've got some other things to do. But we're in our tips, right? And I'm talking about tips of how to engage when you're registering your young person for a summer program. I'm already telling y'all, we have 2 blocks a day. And yes, I do consider on our field trip day, I do say that we do still hold those 2 blocks because we're traveling out. We have our educational experience, and then we come back home base, and then they write out their things, and they still get their playtime and all that. But tip 2 is to ask. Maybe you're not coming to the summer program with us for whatever reason. You want to find out. Don't assume because they say we're a STEM program or we have STEM that they have a lot of STEM. You don't know that. Ask them how many blocks. You don't necessarily need the degree or whatever of the educator. Because by the way, that doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to how much STEM your child is getting. How many activities are they going to be doing? All of my families, I've got somebody on now who's watching who can attest to no less than 2 projects a day. So their kid came out each summer their child has attended. Even, their kid comes home with a folder, and you can flip through that folder and see what your child did. In addition to the fact that I send something at the beginning of the week saying, okay, these are the activities that we're doing. Ask your child about this. This is the instructional focus of this. Like for example, what I'm going to show you today, why does it matter that we're using spaghetti and marshmallows? Like, what are they going to learn from that? Because that may seem like, this definitely seems like you're doing a craft. No, we have engineering principles that can be learned from using these materials, okay? And so you don't want to judge your child's summer or Saturday or after school STEM program on the fanciness, and yes, I said fanciness, of the materials. You want to judge it on how much time are they getting hands-on activity, and what they were supposed to learn from it, and then can they communicate back to you not only what they literally did, but what did they learn, and how does that connect with the theme of the week? Is there a theme of the week? Is there some product that they're showing you? Like all of my students during art week can show their families, oh, we made this paint, and these are the materials that were in it, and this is why we put those materials in that paint. To make it sticky, to make it colorful, to make it puffy, to make it flat, to make it shiny. Right? Those are ways that we teach engineering through art, y'all. Like engineering and art are very closely connected. I'm thankful I got to go to hear live music yesterday. The mathematics that happens in jazz is phenomenal, right? And I was teaching my students on Friday, my students that I saw on Friday, I was like, look, so when I give you like rhythms and things back, as a call and response, yes, it's a classroom management moment, but it is also always a STEAM moment. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We are always hitting all those concepts constantly, even down to when I go, and I want to hear it back. I want to hear it back at the right tone and all right? Because tone is based on frequency, okay? And so teaching them that we are doing science and math at all times, okay? So yes. Second tip, ask your child's program. When you say STEM, what do you mean in minutes? What do you mean in activities? And, is the person teaching it like happy about it? That matters a lot too. All right. So, Going into another piece of our news. This is the time of year when you want to touch base with me and you want your you want to schedule your community event. You want me to come in June to something? Ask me now. April and May are already booked. I say that with love, but truth. April and May are already booked, and several spots in June are already taken. Okay? So if you want the science fun table to roll up at your community event, let me know now. Send me an email. mssteph@tfempowerment.org. All right. If you have some corporate stuff and you're saying, hey, this would be super fun to have like our staff have like a fun, science party, I will do that too. Okay. There's a fee for that. Okay. But I will do that too. Community events, it's a whole nother thing, but corporate stuff, we have our lanes for everything. Okay. And really, really, truly definitely want to make sure that you're getting your young person registered for whatever part of summer program they are coming to. And then going into, like I said, into the fall. I didn't say this on this video, but I'm about to say it now. I'm going to remind you. So our final piece of news, traveling science teacher schedule for the fall, right? It's coming, man. We're already in Q2. We're already in April. So yes, you want to get with me now to organize things for October through May, October 2025 through May 2026. Okay, so now let's hop into talking about our spaghetti. You should try this at home. I'm trying to remember, have I done? Yami, I'm not sure if your little one has done this. She'll be able to tell you because she's brilliant. Okay, but yes, so grab some dry. If you didn't know, we're moving on from the news part. For those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you. Okay. But moving on from the news and tips part to now doing our STEAM activity, heavy on the E and the M today. Right? So you're going to grab some dry, your cheapest. And cheap is relative. So whatever that means to you, you're going to get your cheapest dry spaghetti. You do want it to be spaghetti, okay? If necessary, get linguine, but spaghetti, okay, because it is round, is my preferred, okay? Linguine is going to be flat, and while that may have a impact sauce-wise, right? It will also have an impact on the structure. And so I'm going to want to encourage you to do that. All right, next material. Okay, this is legit the store brand, okay, of the jumbo. I like to mix, okay? I prefer to mix jumbo marshmallows and miniature marshmallows, various sizes of marshmallows. And then our third material is a plate. Now, if you're doing this at home and you decide that you want your child to be able to eat this project later, that's fine. That's your business. Just make sure that they've, everybody who's participating at the table has clean hands and that you're using a fresh bag of marshmallows. You know how I tell you the different materials that you need and the state of those materials. Now, your spaghetti is dry, so obviously you don't need a fresh bag. Like, that's not the point. The marshmallows do need to be fresh, and they should be. Okay, I'm going to hold this one up for you, and I hope you can kind of hear that. You hear how it's kind of like hard on the outside a little bit, okay, or rather stiff. The out. Yeah, at the Intrepid, okay. Shout out to Intrepid. So again, like, those are programs. Different programs have different levels of STEM engagement. Intrepid is one of the ones that does a lot of true STEM. Like, if your child is going to that program, or if they're going to anything done by the Natural History Museum, That's genuine STEM engagement that they're getting. Okay, you notice how I don't have any issue. Well, she already know, but for those of you who don't know me watching, right? I don't have any issue celebrating and shouting out and saying other programs are doing their thing, because they are. Okay, but I'm just letting you know, for when you're trying to engage a new program, what are the things that you can ask at registration, or even before registration, right? Okay, and so paper plates. I love to do these things on paper plates. If you're doing this activity with children under the age of 6, be prepared for them to try to eat it. So if you're not doing this in the home and you're doing this, say, with your center, with your little ones, just be prepared. This is what happened today. That's why you want clean hands and why you want fresh materials, so that in case they eat it, they're not getting sick off of any microorganisms that's been that's been transferred to the materials. All right, so things that you do. So even though I'm gonna hop directly to Niami, like, even though she's done this project, and any of my people who are listening are like, oh yeah, my kid's done that project, this is one that I do suggest that you try to do at home with them, alongside of them. You can encourage them. Children learn well by teaching other people, so you can encourage them to try to show the project to you. So that's one thing that you can do to extend it, even if they've already done the project. Okay, extending, and when I say extend as an instructor, I'm talking about extend their learning and reintroduce a project that they've done before, but make it new and fresh for them. So have them teach it to you, or up the stakes, right? So when we're coming into engineering, we're talking about constraints. This is one of the things that I love to teach, constraints. So constraints are basically, what does it need to look like at the end? What does it need to be able to do at the end? And what materials are they allowed to use for it? So say I tell them you can only use 3 of the large materials, and that it has to have a triangular base, and it needs to be a certain height. Those are constraints, okay? And then maybe you say they can use any amount of the small marshmallows, right, for the rest of their structure. But these first 3 large jumbo marshmallows are, again, another constraint. All right, so we're going to put these together. Remember, I've already talked to you about what's going on with your littles. Just be warned, they are going to try to eat them. Okay? And if you have certain dietary concerns and you don't want them eating these, just make sure that, or concerns about what's inside of the marshmallows. Marshmallows contain gelatin, but gelatin can be vegetarian gelatin, or it can be meat-based gelatin. So you can check the packaging on the back. I just want to respect, that might be a concern for folks. And so I'm letting you know. You saw how easily I broke those, right? So you're breaking them for your very small children. You're going to break them for them. So they're learning, right, the amount of pressure that it takes to push into the marshmallow without pushing it all the way through. These are all kinds of things that they're learning. Pressure. You're learning how to use materials. They're learning what amount of pressure it takes to break these. You see how easily I break that? And then I also make sure that they hear the sound that's produced when I break these, right? So here's my base. You can have them glue this later down to the plate. You can also keep in mind that you may need plastic bags. So for example, today it's raining outside. So if you send these home with your students, you need to think about the fact that it may get wet, which could upset them. So we just want to plan for those things. Again, welcome to Live with Miss Steph. Thank you so much for watching today. And today's project is a classic, spaghetti marshmallow structures. I like to have them do a triangular base because, one, it has them talk about, they get to see the triangle on top of plates. The majority of plates that we use are going to be a circular plate. So you see how we've already had multiple math moments in this. They get to decide how many sticks or spaghetti, how many spaghetti sticks they want to use for each connection. Your 3-stick, you see how strong that is? The 3-stick is going to be a significantly stronger than 1 stick connecting it. All right. I'm going to do this. Okay. And again, the constraint. How high do you want them to make it? You can give a very general instruction and tell them you just want it to be tall. For my littles, right? For my very young pre-K students, I just have them do this. Believe it or not, that takes quite a while. The thing that they're going to want to then do is dismantle it. So don't get upset. I'm warning you now, adults. We see the world differently than they do. They just arrived. They've only been here for a couple of years. Okay? And so because of that, they are not going to get the idea of leaving it assembled. Okay? Some children also may not build a triangle. They might not want to. That's fine. Okay? That's fine, especially for the very young children. The very young children, that's fine. So my kids, when I'm talking about very young, let me put some numbers on that. Age 2. The 2-year-olds might not want to build a triangle. I had a class today of, we had 8 kids in class today. Only one of them built a triangle. Okay? Now, your 3s, my 3s later this week, I'll be able to get them to build a triangle. We'll at least half of those children will be able to build a triangle. But again, they may want to dismantle it. Okay? So you see what I'm now able to do. And triangles are the strongest shape because of how you're able to press on it. Okay? And this is pretty stable. That's another thing. So going up to, say, the expectations for, say, my upper elementary, 3rd to 5th grade, their constraints are now going to be, it has to be a triangular base, and it must be stable, meaning they should be able to move it, and it still stay standing. Okay? And you see I'm just kind of moving these along. But again, that's starting to shift and move a bit. What can I do? What did we learn here? More than one connector will help. All right? I'm already getting something significantly more stable. And I'm also, I don't know if you're noticing, practicing some measurement skills, because the length, right? These are too long. I already know that these are too long for this to fit on this plate. Okay? So that's some of the scaffolding, speaking as an educator, right? Throwing in the education words and all that type of stuff. That's some of the scaffolding. And when we talk about scaffolding more in education, you're just putting some boundaries around it and some supports. That's what scaffolding does, right? It supports. So I only put out a certain amount of marshmallows. I remind them the expectations before. Are we eating these? No. Upper elementary. So upper elementary, you can expect them. Hi. Thank you for watching Live with Miss Steph. That's another expectation. You can put out that expectation and say, hey, we're not going to eat these. I know that you might want to name that for them. Okay. Another thing that I'm going to name now is that some people are super uncomfortable with using food with children at certain socioeconomic statuses. FYI, back in the Great Depression, the majority of decorations that families in certain economic situations were using, that's where, I don't know, well, I don't want to assume what everybody's reference is, but like popcorn decorations for those who celebrate like during Christmas on the Christmas tree, it's coming from that, because that's what they had, instead of going out and buying like quote unquote like traditional Christmas decorations to put on the tree. And so I want to kind of name that for us. I know folks get uncomfortable and saying, oh, it's wasting food and that type of thing. When we think about access and we think about cost and we think about impact on the environment, I've used other materials. So some people have suggested to me, well, Miss Steph, how come you don't use like styrofoam One, horrible for the environment. Two, it costs more than these. Three, if I'm, like I just said, like if I'm suggesting for a family to do this at home, you can go ahead and eat the marshmallows if you so choose. I tell the children not to do that in the classroom because the classroom, for various reasons, can just be kind of like dirty. It can be gross. I'm pushing in. Kids haven't had an opportunity to wash their hands, all that type of stuff. And also, another thing that they get to see is that food can be used in different ways. Remember, we're teaching engineering, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. These are very accessible. This makes this project accessible to you instead of me saying, oh, you need to order materials online. Those are constraints that I'm putting on that are actually unfair. And so again, I want to name that using food may be uncomfortable for you, especially educators in certain mindsets that may have a big socioeconomic difference between your students. I get it. Like I said, I'm naming it for you. I'm putting it out there. But very rarely have I come across a family who has been offended by me doing this project when it comes to the food component. Like, I've been doing this project for well over a decade and a half. At no point has any family ever complained to me. Leadership may have made comments, but no family has ever been like, you shouldn't use food. None of them have said that. And y'all know I'm deep in community, and so families would say, oh, we don't like that. They would tell me, okay? Because I ask, hey, are you, most of them are like, that's great because this is something I can go grab. I can add to this. I can take away from it. You also know what it is instead of me saying, oh, go buy Legos. That is, the cost of that is significantly higher. Also, this is something this is one of the weeks I enjoy the most because it's something I can send home with everybody because of the lower cost constraints to me in my program. Okay? So all that being said, it's been great hanging out with you all today. You see how stable this is and how quickly I made that. Do not, some final things. Don't expect your students to make it that fast. Like I said, this is almost a decade and a half of doing this project, right? I knew where I was going. I've been doing this triangular base. I used to do a square base years ago. There's several videos of me on YouTube starting with a square. It's not as stable. It's just not, okay? Because our strongest shape and most stabilizing shape is a triangle, okay? And so that's another conversation you can have with students. If they want to, the older you get, so if you go into now middle school, you can have them decide on a geometric shape to be their base. Have them take agency, okay? So fun project, simple, straightforward, again, heavy on the E and the M in STEAM, and I encourage you to try it, even if your child has already done this project either with me or with other instructors. And I encourage you to, now speaking to parents, I encourage you to try this at home with them side by side and really let them teach you some of the tips and tricks that they discovered the first several times they did it if they've done it at school. Okay? Because again, accessibility, this activity is very accessible. Okay? Shout out to all of you who've stayed and who've watched, who came on today. Thank you so much. And for those of you watching on the replay, again, thank you so much for watching live with Ms. Steph. We have Saturday Science Club this coming Saturday, April 12th. We will not have program on the 19th or the 26th because I will be out and about doing other things. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.